She wasn't sent to kill him, but to save him. A mysterious doctor arrives in Ouagadougou as President Ibrahim Traoré falls mysteriously ill. Foreign powers circle like vultures as the young leader weakens by the hour. What begins as a medical mission becomes a desperate race against time when Dr. Amara Diallo discovers the president is being systematically poisoned by someone in his inner circle. As Traoré's condition deteriorates and coup whispers grow, the doctor must unmask the betrayer while fighting her own dangerous past. The truth she uncovers will shake West Africa to its core. The medevac helicopter descended through heavy rain, its rotors slicing the midnight air over Ouagadougou. Dr. Amara Diallo gripped her medical case tighter as the craft settled onto the presidential palace helipad, her eyes already scanning the small, welcoming party for signs of what wasn't being said. Dr. Diallo, welcome to Burkina Faso. Colonel Zongo stepped forward, water streaming from his military cap. We must hurry, he's worse. Lightning cracked across the sky, illuminating the palace grounds where armed guards stood like statues rain, cascading down their immobile forms. Amara nodded sharply and followed the security chief through a side entrance, noting the absence of staff and the presence of elite troops at every junction. This was no ordinary medical emergency. This was lockdown. She'd been briefed mid-flight from Geneva that President Ibrahim Traoré had collapsed during a cabinet meeting. High fever, disorientation, muscle tremors. 3 palace doctors had failed to identify the cause. The official statement blamed exhaustion, but the urgent international medical request suggested something far more serious. The corridor opened into a converted presidential bedroom. Medical equipment hastily arranged around the bed where Traoré lay. His powerful frame looked diminished against white sheets, perspiration gleaming on his forehead despite room's chill. Everyone out, Amara commanded, shedding her rain-soaked jacket. Except you, she pointed to a nervous-looking young doctor. You'll assist. Colonel Zongo hesitated. Doctor, I should remain for security. Out, she repeated, meeting his gaze without flinching. Doctor, patient confidentiality applies even to presidents. When the room cleared, Amara moved with practiced efficiency, checking vital signs, examining pupils, testing reflexes. The young assistant doctor, Ouedraogo, hovered nearby, answering her rapid questions about symptom progression and treatments already attempted. His symptoms began 3 weeks ago? Amara asked, drawing blood with expert precision. Subtle at first, then accelerating? Yes. Intermittent fevers, mild cognitive confusion. Then yesterday, Ouedraogo's voice faltered. The seizure was sudden. We weren't prepared. Amara nodded, continuing her examination. And his security protocols? Diet access? President Traoré is careful. Very careful. Food taster's personal chef, limited contact. He hesitated. After the coup attempt last year, he became paranoid, Amara suggested. Became alive, Ouedraogo corrected with sudden firmness. As dawn broke over the capital, Amara stood alone in the makeshift lab adjacent to the presidential quarters, staring at test results that confirmed her worst suspicions. Thallium administered in small doses over weeks, a poisoner's favorite, difficult to detect without specific tests. Nearly impossible to administer without intimate access. She closed her eyes briefly, gathering her thoughts. This wasn't just attempted murder. This was calculated political assassination from within Traoré's inner circle. The toxin would have eventually caused a natural death. Had she not recognized the pattern? When Colonel Zongo returned, she handed him a treatment protocol, not the test results. Heavy metals poisoning, she stated, watching his reaction carefully. Likely environmental exposure. We need Prussian blue immediately. Begin chelation therapy. Zongo's expression remained neutral. I'll have it flown in. From where would you recommend, Doctor? The WHO has emergency supplies in Abidjan, but Colonel, she held his gaze. This stays contained. Absolutely no one beyond essential medical staff can know the diagnosis or treatment. Understood. He nodded, but something in his eyes made Amara wonder if she'd just made her first mistake. That night, as Traoré slept under sedation, Dr. Ouedraogo brought Amara coffee in the monitoring room. His hands trembled slightly as he set down the cup. You know it's not environmental, he said, voice barely above a whisper. Someone is trying to kill him. Amara studied the young doctor. What makes you think that? The pattern the access required, the timing with the ECOWAS summit approaching. He leaned closer. And because 3 months ago they tried bullets, now they try poison. Yet you've told no one your suspicions? Ouedraogo's laugh was bitter. Look around you, doctor. Who would I tell? The cabinet ministers who resent his reforms? The security chief who lost power when Traoré restructured the military? The foreign advisors who despise his resource nationalism? You could have told Traoré himself. I tried. Pain flashed across the young doctor's face. He said paranoia was a luxury leaders couldn't afford. That suspecting everyone meant trusting no one. And a president who trusts no one is already defeated. Amara considered this, wondering if the trust Traoré placed in his inner circle would be his undoing. She picked up the coffee but didn't drink. Tell me, doctor, who prepares the president's meals? The presidential kitchen was pristine, deserted at 3 a.m., as Amara slipped inside with Ouedraogo nervously standing watch at the door. Using specialized equipment from her case, she systematically tested surfaces, containers, water sources. Nothing, she murmured, growing frustrated. If not the food, then... Her phone buzzed a secure message from her contact at WHO. Toxicology had confirmed her findings and added something crucial. The thallium showed traces of a specific stabilizing compound used only in Russian and Chinese laboratories. The poison wasn't just deadly, it was traceable to specific governments. His tea, Ouedraogo suddenly said from the doorway. The president drinks a special herbal blend every night, his grandmother's recipe. For clarity and strength, no one else prepares it. Where? His private study, adjacent to the bedroom. He makes it himself from herbs kept in a wooden box, a family heirloom. 20 minutes later, Amara stared at the ornate box, her detector registering alarming levels of thallium concentrated in the dried leaves. Who has access to this room? She demanded. Only the president's senior staff and cleaning personnel. Ouedraogo hesitated. And foreign dignitaries during official meetings. When was the last such meeting? 3 weeks ago, he whispered, with the French ambassador. Dawn painted the sky blood red as Amara administered another round of chelation therapy to Traoré. His condition had stabilized, but recovery would be slow. She checked his vitals, avoiding the intensity of his gaze. Now conscious, though, weak. The president watched her with unexpected lucidity. You found it, he stated, not a question. She met his eyes. Your tea herbs poison systematically. Someone with access to your private study. She paused. Someone you trust. Traoré closed his eyes briefly. How many know? Only myself, Dr. Ouedraogo, Colonel Zongo, and whoever is trying to kill you. The French? The compound has markers suggesting Eastern origin. Russia, perhaps. But that could be intentional misdirection. Traoré's laugh turned into a cough. Of course, everyone wants to blame someone else. That's how the game is played in Africa. Doctor, from colonization to coups, always external hands moving local pieces. Amara checked his IV, adjusting the flow. This wasn't external. This was someone with intimate access. Someone who knew your habits. She paused. And with the ECOWAS summit approaching, your absence would create significant opportunity. His eyes sharpened. You're not just a doctor. I specialize in toxicology, she replied carefully. That's not what I meant. Traoré studied her. Geneva. But before that, the way you move, the questions you ask, the security assessments you've had training. Amara met his gaze without flinching. My past isn't relevant to your treatment, Mr. President. It is if you're working for someone else. The accusation hung in the air between them. Amara maintained her composure, though her heart raced. I'm here to save your life. That's my only mission. Why? Traoré pressed. Because all lives matter? Or because certain lives have political value? Before she could answer, Colonel Zongo entered the room. His uniform, immaculate expression, grim. Mr. President, forgive the interruption. We have a situation ECOWAS ministers are demanding. Proof of life. Rumors of your death are circulating. The markets are responding. Military units in the north are reporting unusual movements at the Mali border. Traoré struggled to sit up. It's beginning the vulture circle. They think I'm dead or dying. He turned to Amara. How long until I can appear publicly? Days at minimum, she replied. The poison is still being flushed from your system. Physical exertion could cause cardiac arrest. I don't have days. Traoré's voice hardened with the authority that had made him both respected and feared. Without visual confirmation, the coup begins by sundown. Whether through poison or panic, the result is the same. That afternoon, while Traoré slept, Amara reviewed security footage from the palace weeks of recordings focusing on the presidential study. Ouedraogo had managed to obtain the files against protocol, his hands shaking as he delivered the encrypted drive. If anyone discovers what we're doing, he whispered. They won't, she assured him, though her confidence was performance. Go back to the president, keep everyone else out. Hour after hour, she watched staff ministers, security personnel entering and leaving the study. Nothing suspicious, no one approaching the tea box, nothing until she froze the frame, backing up 10 seconds. There, Colonel Zongo carrying documents. A brief moment alone while waiting for the president. A subtle movement toward the cabinet where the box was kept. Then nothing. His back blocked the camera. Amara felt ice form in her veins. Zongo, the head of presidential security, the man controlling access to Traoré, the man who had personally requested a WHO specialist, the man who now knew she had discovered the poison source. Her hands moved quickly, securing the evidence, transferring keyframes to her encrypted phone. If Zongo was the poisoner, her discovery meant she was now a target. Not just her Ouedraogo, too. She had to warn him. The corridors seemed longer, darker as she made her way back to the presidential suite. Every guard's gaze felt hostile, every shadow concealed threat. When she turned the final corner, she froze. 2 guards lay motionless outside Traoré's door, blood pooling beneath them. Moving on instinct, Amara pressed herself against the wall, drawing a small pistol from her ankle holster. The weapon violated every medical protocol, but vindicated her past training. Inside the suite, she heard voices, Zongo's unmistakable baritone, and another foreign-accented speaking French, discussing extraction timelines and staged evidence. The doctor complicates things, the unknown voice said. She knows too much. She'll be handled, Zongo replied. After we finish here, the story will be simple. Terrorists, tragic, but useful. Amara calculated her options, limited and lethal. The presidential bedroom had only one entrance. She was outgunned, outmanned. Her only advantage was surprise. She removed her white coat, dropped to a crouch, and moved to the doorway, weapon ready. The scene inside stopped her cold Traoré conscious, sitting upright at gunpoint, Zongo standing over him. A third man by the window, European-built, expensive suit, casual arrogance. Your reforms die with you, the European was saying. Your successor understands practical cooperation, resource agreements, Western partnership. Nothing personal, simply business. Killing a president is very personal, Traoré replied, voice weak but dignified. Ask the Americans. They've tried both approaches. Assassination, then cooperation. Neither lasts. History is written by survivors. Zongo cut in, and you won't be one. Amara made her decision, stepped into the doorway and fired. 2 shots precise. Zongo collapsed, clutching his shoulder. The European dove for cover, weapon drawn. Chaos erupted. What followed was blur of motion and tactical calculation. Amara's training resurfacing in muscle memory and cold focus. She fired again, forced the European back. Traoré, despite his weakness, rolled from the bed, taking Zongo's dropped weapon. Behind you, Traoré shouted. Amara turned, as palace guards loyal to Zongo burst through the door. She fired twice more, then felt white-hot pain tear through her side. The room tilted, pitched, darkness edged her vision. The last thing she saw was Traoré, impossibly standing, bracing himself against the wall, firing methodically at the doorway. His eyes met hers. For one brief moment, recognition, understanding, and something unexpected, respect. She woke to the smell of antiseptic and the rhythmic beep of monitors. The presidential suite had been transformed into a recovery ward, 2 beds now instead of 1. Across the room, Traoré sat in a wheelchair, reviewing documents with ministers. His complexion had improved, his voice stronger as he issued directives. Our guest is awake, he noted without looking up. The ministers turned, followed his gaze, then quietly exited. When they were alone, Traoré wheeled himself to her bedside. You took a bullet for a president you barely know, Dr. Diallo. Or should I say former agent Diallo of Senegalese intelligence? Amara tried to sit up, winced. How did you... After you collapsed, I had you investigated thoroughly. Your WHO credentials are real. Your history before that interesting counter-assassination unit, specialized in identifying political poisonings across West Africa. Until you resigned 3 years ago after a mission went wrong, he studied her. The question is why you came out of retirement for me. She met his gaze. Poisoning techniques are my expertise. Who consulted me? I didn't know it was you until the flight. And yet you carried a weapon prepared for something beyond medical emergency? Old habits, she admitted. The mission in Bamako 3 years ago, I missed signs. A president died because I failed. Now I'm thorough. Traoré nodded slowly. Zongo survived. He's talking. The European was French intelligence working with a consortium of mining interests. My policies threatening their access. Textbook really, he paused. They had help. Ministers I trusted, aides I promoted. The poison was just first phase. And now? Now West Africa witnesses the consequences of betrayal. His voice hardened. And remembers why some leaders must be feared as well as respected. Amara felt cold at his tone. What will you do? What my position demands. Justice visible and absolute. He handed her a tablet security footage of military detaining ministers. Evidence of foreign payments. Confessions extracted by methods she could guess. And me? She asked quietly. I've seen too much, know too much. You can't simply release me. Traoré's expression softened slightly. You saved my life at risk of your own that earns certain considerations. He wheeled back slightly. Burkina Faso's new internal security division requires leadership. Someone with medical knowledge, political awareness, and proven loyalty. I'm not looking for employment, Mr. President. And I'm not offering a job, Doctor. Diallo. His eyes held hers. I'm offering purpose. The chance to prevent what happened in Bamako from repeating, to protect not just one leader, but an entire nation's right to self-determination. Outside the window, Ouagadougou stretched beneath the setting sun, a city holding its breath as news spread of foiled coup and foreign interference. Celebration in some quarters, fear in others. The game of nations played with lives like pawns. Amara thought of her apartment in Geneva, sterile, empty, haunted by failures past. She thought of the poison in Traoré's tea, how close history had come to repeating how many other attempts might follow. I'll consider it, she said finally. Traoré nodded, knowing her answer already. In the world they inhabited, trust was rarest currency, more precious than gold, deadlier than poison, and once given impossible to withdraw. In the weeks that followed, as both President and Doctor recovered, official narratives solidified foreign conspirators. Treasonous elements, swift justice bodies displayed in public squares, diplomatic outrage from European capitals, African leaders closing ranks around Traoré. The poisoning itself became classified. Traoré's illness attributed to failed assassination by conventional means. The world accepted the story, or pretended to. The wheels of power turned anew. Dr. Amara Diallo neither returned to Geneva nor disappeared. Instead, she became a shadow in Ouagadougou's corridors of power, testing the president's food, scanning his visitors with experienced eyes, building networks of loyal informants. Sometimes in quiet moments, she questioned her choice, wondered if she'd traded one form of service for another more dangerous. If saving Traoré had been right when his retribution proved so terrible. But then she would remember Zongo's eyes, cold and calculating, the Europeans' casual dismissal of African sovereignty, the ministers who sold their country for foreign bank accounts, and she would recall Traoré standing wounded, firing to protect her, a woman he barely knew. In their world of shadows and poison, such moments of clarity were rare, worth preserving. Perhaps like nations themselves, leaders could not be judged as simply good or evil, but by the enemies they made and the loyalty they inspired. If this inside look at power, politics, and betrayal kept you on edge, hit subscribe for more stories they don't want you to see. Smash that like button if you believe there's always more happening behind closed doors than we're told, and comment below, would you have taken the job Traoré offered or walked away? The most thought-provoking responses get pinned